Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Perry, and this is my friend Victoria. And I wanted to share her wonderful story with you today. God's changed her life. So here she goes. Go ahead, Victoria.
Hi, my name is Victoria de los Santos. Last name is Valdez. I'm married. I just wanted to come on here and let you all know what God has done for me. My parents, I really don't know much. I was 5 years old when they got a divorce. My mom was Catholic at one time, but she didn't go to church regularly. But it didn't last very long. As years went by, coming from a single mom, but my father was still in my life. He would come and visit, but we were still close. My mom, she struggled with eight of us. I'm just going to be open about this. My mom spent her whole life on government assistance, which is welfare, and so she had it hard with eight kids. She had her time of going out and drinking. My mom never did drugs, but she was a drinker, but she wasn't an alcoholic. But she just had her time. When I was young and in her prime, she went out. I had a normal, childhood growing up, going outside, playing in the mud, going to the park, having my friends over, you know, just, just the childhood memories. I think up until the middle of junior high is when my life just kind of went a little wild. My mom kept me home a lot. By the time I got to high school, that's when my life really took a turn. I ended up being disobedient. I wasn't listening to my mom. I was just doing things that I wanted to do. Then it made her upset. She would just get upset and she would hit us. And it didn't do any good to me. And I just want to bring this forth that this testimony of mine isn't about me, it's about the Lord. I ended up running away from home. I ran away to California. I got pregnant of my oldest daughter, who is 35. At 17, I got pregnant. I had her when I was 18, just being a teenager. I was just doing my thing. I didn't know how to be a mom. I was learning how to be a mom with my mom's help.
Let me ask
Yes,
you a question. So you said you had eight brothers and sisters?
there's eight of us.
Eight? What order? I mean, like, are there brothers, sister? Was it older sister, older brothers? Were you the oldest?
From my dad, my mom had six of us.
Okay.
And then later on, my mom ended up getting pregnant again with my younger sister, and then got pregnant again later and had my younger brother.
Now, were these different fathers or the
Yeah.
same? The second
No,
dad was
there were two different fathers,
three different
yes.
fathers?
In the early 2000s.
How old were you at that time?
I want to say I was probably like about 19 or 20. So she was like new, going, she turned her life around. She started going to a Christian church in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. And so it was new to her. But at that time, I was just not listening. When she changed her life around, she was trying to do the best to raise us and to support us, because at that time my dad wasn't really, he wasn't doing his part. Kind of went spiraled downhill after that, with my life and my life choices. When I had my oldest daughter, I was still going out, didn't know much. Again, like I was said, I'm going to piggyback on what I was talking about a few minutes ago. And then I ended up getting pregnant again with my second daughter. And I was still young, because I had my oldest daughter. I got pregnant when I was 17, had my oldest daughter when I was 18, got pregnant again at 19, and had my other daughter when I was 20.
Mm.
So I was not ready to be a parent. However, my mom would tell me, and I'm going to be blunt, she told me, You chose to go out there and spread your legs, and now you have a responsibility. Did she help me? Yeah, she helped me a lot with both of my daughters. I didn't get quite the support I expected because she was doing her she wasn't like she was going back to school getting her GED. So she helped me. My mom was getting older. So and she just knew that you had these children, so now it's a responsibility. Did she help me take them to the doctor's office and do this or when they would cry a lot and I didn't know what to do? Yes, she did. She'd get up in the morning and make breakfast for my oldest daughter when she was still, a baby while I was taking care of my second daughter that I had. Well, the man that I met, he went to school. He was as old as my oldest daughters. I mean, not my oldest daughters, excuse my older sisters. We end up dating, um, going out. We were just together, boyfriend and girlfriend. My parents didn't like it. My dad, he just kind of like he even found out I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, he just kind of didn't want really nothing to do with me. Like I lost my baby, she went out, she got pregnant at this age. Um, and I know my dad wanted the best for me because I was his youngest, but I just it didn't happen that way. My choices were poor. Um, I realize that today, but so I was with him, during that time, and I had two sons with him. And during that whole 15 years, it was more bad times than good times because he was an alcoholic. And I was a stay-at-home mom with all my four kids up until it got to the point where I just kind of, thought, you know what? If he's going to go out and do this and that, I'm going to go out and do it too. Bad choices again. So I was going out, leaving my kids at a babysitter's, just going out, doing my thing because he was out doing his thing, thinking that two wrongs made a right. And I did that for a long time. Uh, I was not much a drinker. I think I fell more into like smoking marijuana and doing meth back then, but I wasn't like really hard on it. I would just do it when I would go out. But I wanted to get back at him, not realizing I was hurting my children for doing me, being so unfaithful. But I stuck it out for 15 years with him until I just couldn't no more.
Would you say that maybe that's when rejection kind of came in with your dad, when you kind of felt something with your dad at that point? Did you feel distant from him? Did you feel like he rejected you? And then the
Yeah.
second question is, would you have something to say to maybe younger girls that maybe felt like they lost their childhood because of what they did? You know what I mean? Maybe that's something you were feeling too, like you kind of lost your childhood. See, I'm gonna go out and just have fun too, just like everybody else. Did you kind of think like that, or am I overreaching?
No, I think that's when that settled in is because when my mom and dad, of course, I was small when they divorced, but when I told him that I was pregnant of my first daughter, he just kind of shunned away from me. He didn't help me in any way with my kids. And I was young still, and I thought I would get some kind of support for him. And I know my choices weren't the best, but still as a father I thought maybe he would help me. And I just want to let the young girls know that are going through a similar situation, do not let that any kind of abandonment of your mom or your dad have you go out and make poor choices. If you had a good plan for your life, stick with it. Don't go out and just be rebellious and do things because you feel some kind of way because your parents just, they didn't support you because you ended up pregnant, make you have poor choices or, you know, have condemn yourselves, because that's the way I felt. I felt that, and
That's such a
you
good
know,
word. That is such a good word because I think sometimes the young girls might think I've already blown it. I now you just see the spiral start to happen when actually they could look at it and go, I blew it. I'm not going to let this dictate who I'm going to become. Now it's going to catapult me into being who I feel like God wants me to be instead of letting
yeah,
it me down. That was so good.
yeah, absolutely. Just continue to follow, you know, continue to follow your dreams. Don't let how your parents feel about you, or if they're upset or disappointed in your decision, or what had happened, and if you're pregnant, don't let it define you. Continue to strive and do what you need to do to support your child. And if you don't have the support from your parents, that's okay. Continue to be strong, and find a good church to go to, and find the Lord, and find Jesus. And because he is the only one that will be with you through everything you're going through, and he will give you comfort. So when I had all my 4 kids and I was going through that, I'm just going to put it blunt, through hell with my father's dad. It was terrible, because even though that I went out and thought I was trying to let him, I was trying to let him. I wasn't even putting my children first. I was putting him first. Oh, he went out and do it. I'm going to show him that I can go out and do it. It was wrong. It wasn't even worth it, because he ended up having 2 other children behind my back, and I still stuck it out. I put my daughters through a lot because of the choice I made. And my mom would always tell me, you put up with it because you chose to put up with it. You didn't have to put up with it. You chose to put up with it. And because you put up with it, your daughters went through that because of your choices. So that's something that always, always until this day will stick to me. When I had my sons, he was still doing the things, but by that time I was already fed up. We were already um, at the ends of our relationship. I want to say 2005 is when we separated. We were here in San Antonio when that happened, and when he separated, my boys, our sons, were so close to their father. So when he ended up moving back to Nebraska, he took he took them with him. I didn't give up on my sons. I didn't do that. They chose to do that. So they were 6 and 10. And so when they left, and then that's when all hell broke loose. I was already in a relationship with my husband, who I'm still married to today, which is my youngest daughter's father. And he was he was everything that I wanted in a man, and he still is. I think it wasn't because of him, it's because my poor choices, that we just kind of both got introduced to a drug, and we both kind of went downhill. We end up losing everything because our addiction got worse.
Okay, so
Our
you had the two older kids and then you had two sons.
Oh, I had my 2 daughters, and then years later, I had my 2 sons.
And then was this the father of your youngest daughter?
No, my husband, who we knew each other since we were little kids. His mom and my mom used to go out to the bars together, but we were young, and we reunited in our teens. I think I was 19 and he was 17 at the time. and I end up getting pregnant with our daughter. And I end up getting pregnant with our daughter, and then he ended up getting sent away for 15 years. I was still pregnant when he got sent away. And then, so that's how that happened. So then I got with, years later, I was with my son's father, and that's when I was with him for 15 years.
Hmm.
And I stuck it out with him because of my sons,
Yeah.
not knowing that the damage I was putting my daughters through. So it was just, everything just went downhill after that.
Hmm.
It just wasn't well. So I just wish things I say sometimes I wish I had a time machine to go back in time. I'd do it all over again, but that's just not the case. And so my sons are from the same one, except for my daughters. So yes, I have three baby daddies, but with the one I was with for 15 years, he was the one that really put me through a lot. That's when I just fell into my addiction. When my boys took off, my oldest daughter was already doing, going out, spending the night at her friends. It just came to a point where she was slowly moved out. But by then, I was not even recognizing it because I was already in my addiction. Our youngest daughter, she was with us until we end up getting evicted. We lost everything because everything that I had, it ended up going to the dealer. So we just spiraled downhill. It's just all my kids and they were gone. I don't condemn myself anymore. Back then, that's what happened. That addiction took um, us down a deep, dark road for 6 years. We were addicted to crack cocaine, and we spent a lot of our time on Roosevelt and Presa here in San Antonio, Texas, stayed in abandoned houses. Now, when I say addiction, we never experienced heroin, was never a pill popper, never did ecstasy, never did acid. It was just marijuana and crack, which is cocaine. So, did we experiment with any of those other drugs? No, we never have. I never got to experience those drugs, thank God. But no, it was just the addiction of crack is really, really took us down to where we had literally nothing. And we stayed like that. We stayed in the streets with bags of clothes, and, we did a lot of bad things for our habit. I never had to do like go out there and prostitute, but, as for me and my husband, we did a lot of bad things together to keep our habit, to keep a hotel, to stay in a hotel. And so even during that time, I lost contact with my sons for a very, very long time, for years. And I lost contact with my daughters. My youngest daughter, she's the only one that we would reach out to from time to time because, of course, that was my husband's daughter. But as far as my sons, I missed out on a lot. I missed out on raising them. They, I don't want to cry.
It's real, you know?
I missed out on having that experience of raising a son um, because of my choices. I just don't want somebody else to do the same that I want them to learn because it's just not worth it. We were in the streets for at least a good, probably like 9 years. When I fell into my addiction, I even stopped calling my mom. I don't even know when was the last time I even spoke to her before I fell into my addiction. But I remember when she would always try to call me, I didn't answer because I was too high. One day when I called her, she started crying because she thought I was dead. She cried because she hasn't heard from me. And I just feel how selfish can I be putting my mom through such worry and agony, not knowing where I was because I was too busy on drugs, thinking about me, thinking about me, and how selfish. I really wish I could go back, do it all over again. But, and I have to give God all the glory because I had a chance to make it all up to my mom and to my kids. My husband got put away. I went to a home called Victory Gospel Spiritual Growth Center. And that's where it all ended. My addiction, everything. That's when God rescued and saved not only my husband, but my soul. I didn't know anything about the Lord. I'm just going to say it like this. When I went to the home, I just went in there because I didn't have nowhere else to go. When he got locked up, we were in a hotel room. His best friend turned him in. I already knew that that was the end of it. Like I wasn't going to be doing that no more because I didn't do anything without my husband. I was downtown sitting on a bench with my clothes, and a woman pulled up in a car and she just called me over to her car. And I just knew, I mean, it makes sense now because I knew it was the Lord. But I just went in her car. I don't know why, because I just never went into a stranger's car. But I did because she was a girl, and then she had two kids in the back seat. So I thought, okay, is that she introduced me to Victory's Gospel Spiritual Growth Center because that's where her and her husband were attending church. She took me to her house. She had told me about that place and had asked me, would you like to come Sunday? And I said, yes. And mind you, my husband was in jail and I haven't even spoke to my husband or anything because I'm out trying to figure out what I'm going to do now that I don't have my husband with me. Like I felt lost, like completely lost. Like I don't know what to do anymore. I couldn't run to my family because they didn't trust me because of the things I was doing. I couldn't run to my daughters. I couldn't, my sons were in Nebraska, so I was completely lost. At that moment, and I'm going to tell you now because it makes sense now, but at that moment, it was like I knew that I know now, but at that moment, I noticed that all these doors were shutting. Well, she wanted to know what, who I was and what happened. It was just strange how it all happened. You just don't invite people in your car. You're sitting downtown with two bags of clothes in your hands. That just doesn't seem normal for a person to do. But she did. I went with her to her house. She let me stay at her house. She introduced me to her husband. My husband finally came to him and said, okay, you had asked me a couple of days ago, let's pray. Come on, I want to pray. Let's pray. He goes, and your husband got down on his knees and we prayed. It's just remarkable how God orchestrated that because the lady that picked me up, her husband was in jail with my husband. They had told me, would you like to come to church with us that Sunday? And I said, I guess, because my mind wasn't right. I wasn't in the right state of mind to even think about going to church. But I said yes because I was like, oh, they're going to take me in and, they're saying I could stay here. So I thought, and it was always because I didn't have a place to stay, not knowing that God had another plan. It makes sense now, but so I stayed, went to church. I went to church that Sunday with them. And that first Sunday I went to church, I went up there to the altar and surrendered my life to the Lord. I just did because I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought I'm just going to go up there. Maybe a miracle will happen. Maybe, you know, this mess that I'm in, I will get out of it. They encouraged me to do it. So, when they said, go up there, I said, okay. So I just said, okay, I went up there. After the service was over, we left back to their house. We ate, and they were telling me more about that place. Like, they have a spiritual growth center in the back of that church. Did you see the big white building? And I said, yes. Well, that's part of them. They have men and women staying in that church that are going through the same thing that you're going through right now. Everybody is going through something in there. Do you want to go? And I said, yes. I didn't hesitate. I said yes, because at that moment I thought they probably don't want me to stay here anymore. And they just probably just, tell me about this place so I can, go stay over there. So I just said yes. That's all I know is that I said yes. But that following day, I don't even know what day it was. They took me, and I remember they were having some kind of like an event on the outside of Victory Gospel, the church, and it's at 1603 Montana Street, as a matter of fact. So I they got off with me, and I had my bags, and I remember Nikki, her name is Nikki, came up to me, and we started talking, and they had said, we found this girl, she's willing to come. Is there any way you can help her? Because, she's going through a lot. She's struggling with this drug here. Is there any way you can help her? And I was all for it, because at that time I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. They prayed for me, and then when they left, I never saw them again. I never saw them again. And they said that that was their church. So I was like, I never saw them again. Prophetess Jackie Banks was there. She introduced me to ladies. I was sitting there, and I was just like, I don't know what's happening. But, I sat down. So they had to search my bags. Of course, they didn't find anything. I didn't have none of that on me, no paraphernalia. I didn't have nothing on me. So um, when she checked my bags, she took me to the dorm, and I seen tons of bunk beds there, and some pretty, how you have your own bedroom and you fix it up and stuff. So I just was amazed, because I seen so many bunk beds there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know where I'm at, but this sounds pretty neat. I'm off the streets. So I stayed there. And after a week I was there, I met other girls that were there, and we had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. We had to be at the sanctuary, and we had to pray for an hour, and then every girl that was there after 30 days had to give their testimony. And I just didn't know what was going on. This was like, I couldn't comprehend what was going on, because this is me. I was just doing drugs, and my husband's in jail, and I was on the streets. So, and here I am, and what's going on? I just kind of like, I just kind of took it in, if that makes sense. I took it in, and I thought, these girls are really nice. Okay. So, it was nice. The atmosphere, I was noticing the atmosphere was nice, and it just, everything was so nice. I think about a week, when we got up and we had to go to the sanctuary, I was sitting there, and I heard the other girls praying, praying, when I was just sitting there to myself, I was thinking, this is cool. I'm off the streets and all you got to do is just sit here. If you have the choice to pray, pray. If not, whatever. Again, to me at that time, I thought, oh, this is cool. There's other girls here and I'm not on the streets because I basically just was there to get off the streets, um, not knowing what was going to happen later. But um, so these girls were praying, and I was just sitting there on the chair looking at all of them. And then some of them were talking in this crazy language, and I was just like, what is going on, to myself. I didn't just, distract anybody. I think I was just more like, what's going on? Like, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that they were praying. I didn't know about the crazy language, they speaking in tongues. I didn't know nothing about that. All I knew is that I was here off the streets and I was okay. But after, that week, and we had Bible study, and I heard a testimony. Her name was Ebony, by the way. I'll always remember Ebony. I couldn't comprehend what she went through and where she was at peace. So I was just like, what? She went through that. And here I thought I was going through hell over here. And here she was going, because everybody's testimony was different. So I'm just thinking, wow. And, I was talking to the girls, and when I was supposed to be paying attention, this is me, I want to pay attention. But I was just talking to other girls because I didn't know anything about Bible study or anything. But I know one thing that I could say. Not once did I even think about my husband or worry about him. I was kind of trying to comprehend what was going on with me because I already knew he was in jail and what jail's like, and all that other stuff. So I was just kind of like, what's happening to me? But I was still fresh there, still trying to figure out what was going on. But I knew that we couldn't wear tank tops, short shorts. We had to wear, t-shirts, and if we wanted to wear shorts, they had to be a little above our knees, not looking all crazy, but we had to wear where we're not showing anything. And we couldn't have cell phones, which I didn't have one. We couldn't communicate with the men above us. It was strictly just us. This is a good thing. Still trying to comprehend what was going on, but I knew it was a good thing because listening to their testimonies, I already thought, wow, I like this. There, when we had went to the altar, I'm going to give it a try. Why not? So I got on my hands and knees, put my face down on the chair, and I remember I had asked God, whatever these girls have, I want it. Whatever they have, I want it too. And and if you say who you say you are, show me. That was it. That was my prayer. And then we had the Bible study, and I was paying more attention. So when we had went to church that Sunday morning, I was kind of like, you know, kind of moving to the worship. I was kind of liking the worship now, and everything just seemed like it was going good. I can get used to this. I like this. This is nice. We had church, we had worship, we had a good teacher, Donnie Banks. A lot of what he said is still in my mind. After service was over, we ate. We were just talking to other girls. We were just all talking and stuff, and just the other girls, they were just so happy. And I was like, I want that happiness. I want that. But as soon as I walked into those doors at Victory Chapel, I just cried like a baby. And I don't know why I was crying, but I was crying. I couldn't stop my tears, but I was crying. And my hands just went up. something had a hold of my hands, keeping him up. My hands are up in the air. And as worship was done, gospel music, the worship was on, and it was so deep and heavy. It just felt like as I was just crying, and I realized now that I was crying out to the Lord. My soul was crying out to him. And as I was crying, I felt something come out of me, like something heavy just come out of me. I was like shaking, and I just felt busy or something. I can't describe what I was feeling all over my body, but I just wasn't feeling like I knew something happened. And I had seen Evangelist Narasha. She's like, "What is it, Sister Victoria?" And I said, I don't feel, I feel funny, like a new feeling, like I never felt it before. I'm telling her, she's like, "Were you scared?" And I said, "No." She goes, "Were you at peace?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Oh, Sister Victoria, that was the Lord. He delivered you from your bondage and your addiction." From that moment on, after I started bawling, I already knew that that desire of drugs went away.
When you went in, were you still craving drugs? You didn't have them, but were you still going through withdrawals and stuff like that when you went in? Or do you remember any of that? Because it doesn't sound like you did.
Um, no, no, because I was, and it was weird because when I went in, I wasn't going through any kind of withdrawals. I was trying to comprehend what was going on and where I was, or whatever I need to go. Yeah, that just completely, I was trying to comprehend what was going on. Where was I at? What's going on? What is
So,
going on? I didn't know.
so this new experience, when you knew that addiction was done, you were done with addiction.
Yep,
That was like, that was
yep,
so solidified it in your mind. This is, I'm done. I'm done with it.
yep,
Worry about ever going back.
yep. Uh-huh.
Wow, praise God.
Who is this God that saved me from my addiction? Because I already knew that that had happened. The enemy got released.
How long were you in this program?
I was in there for 2 years.
Okay, that's good. 2 years. I'm a
Yeah,
firm believer in long programs.
yeah.
My husband, he used to work at the jail, and
Mhm.
he would try to encourage the inmates to go to programs, and they're like, well, it takes too long. And he's like, well, you've been here for 10 years. What's too long? What's a year? Just get it finished and move on, get your life
Yeah.
back. So, I mean, looking at it, sometimes it's hard. But when you look back, you think 2 years probably went just like that.
I've seen people go and then people leave. I didn't want to go. I
Hmm.
didn't want to go. I didn't want to lose what I gained.
Now you're at the end of the 2 years and you got to go home now. So now where are you going? What happened?
I went to go stay with my oldest daughter. When I went to go stay with my oldest daughter, her boyfriend was dealing drugs really bad.
Yeah.
So I talked to my older sister and I said, "Can I stay with you?" I said, "Because I can't be around that." And she took me in and I stayed with her until I got a job and I got my own apartment.
Hmm.
And so, going through what I did, I don't like what I went through, but I thank God what I went through, because if it would had not been for what I went through, I wouldn't be here today.
Hmm.
I have to say, back when my addiction, I had OD 3 times. I almost got shot in the head. It ricocheted past my ear and it ricocheted off my husband's shoulder. I shouldn't be here today. I probably should be locked up for many years, or I should be 6 feet under. I have a purpose, and I believe that I believe that was him.
No, we know what it was. We know what was happening. That the
Yes.
Holy Spirit was moving in that whole situation. let's go from there. You're moving forward now. You can see your
Okay.
life moving forward.
When I left where I was staying with my daughter, I went to Nebraska. I went, spent a month over there to try to gain some kind of bond with my sons. And I'm here today walking with Christ. Recently, I have gotten at your house, Sister Michelle, I got a deliverance. I don't remember it. I know after the full deliverance that I received, God's opened so many doors. I can honestly say that I give him all the glory. I give him all the praise. And nobody could ever tell me different about the man that saved my soul and my marriage and my husband. And he can deliver you from whatever you think that you cannot be delivered from. And he wants the best for you, the absolutely best for you and your family. And my where I'm at today, I have a business. I have a catering business and a baking business. I have contact with all my kids, all my grandkids. I hope my testimony brings you all hope. Don't run to anybody else, but run to the Lord because he is the only one that will save you and protect you. I'm living proof.
Why don't you give a shout out to Sonia, her ministry
Oh
that
yes,
helped you with the
you.
deliverance?
She was.
She
You
was
beat me
in
to it.
I was
Yes,
just
you beat me
I
to
was
it. Yeah,
just an associate, you know.
yeah. A sister of mine. Her name is Sister Sonia Trot. God has put her in my life to birth what the Lord had installed in me. Cooking. I've always known how to cook and bake, but I know it was God that put her in my path because she is the one that noticed it and had told me, Victoria, what are you doing? God blessed your hands. And I thank the Lord for her so much and such a good friend that she's just continued to stand by my side and she's helped me launch my business. I just want to thank Sister Sonia Trot. I will never forget her. And I thank the good Lord for you, Sister Michelle, for, because you too have a good place in my heart. And you have such a beautiful soul. And you're so welcoming. And I just thank God for all the sisters he placed in my life.
So I want to kind of wrap this up. So I want you to just what's one encouraging word you could give to people that have maybe been on the streets, young girls that have gone through the things you've gone through, maybe men that are in prison because you have a husband that's in there, women that have husbands incarcerated. What's just like if you could pull it all together, what's a word of encouragement you could give to everybody?
Call out to Jesus. He's just waiting for you to call out to him.
Mm-hmm.
The men, I could tell you from what I know from my husband being incarcerated today, don't give up. Get a men's group going on. The women that are going through addictions, mentally and physically tired of going what you're going through. If you're tired and you just want a way out, and not even that, just get wherever you're at. If you're in the dope house, if you're trying to get rid of your child, if you're going through a divorce, if you got bad thoughts in your mind to end it all, hit your knees right now and cry out to the Lord because he is the only one that's going to make a way for you.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
Um, I really, I really appreciate it. And I know that it's going to help so many people. And sometimes it's just us opening up and saying, you know what, I'm just going to do it. You know, I'm just going to say it. And it's not always easy, but I love you so much and I'm
I love you
appreciative that
too.
you said yes. Thank you for saying yes.
I
Yeah,
love you, sister,
I
and
love
I
you
don't have
too.
no regrets. I'm glad, and I know it will help somebody.